and I have to say I'm only a recently re-recruit to Offaly County Council, so all the good work that's been demonstrated here today have been done by others and not by me. But I suppose the next stage of the challenge to continue this good work will rest at myself and the Climate Action team, and indeed to the whole local authority. Climate action and decarbonisation is very much now across local authority action. It's not just the Climate Action team. They influence and advise the rest of us in relation to all our services, our programme delivery and our plans in relation to consideration for climate action and decarbonisation. And that's very much to the forefront of all our plans now. Just in relation to my presentation, look, it's kind of a whistle-stop tour in relation to, notwithstanding the fact that I have climate action and environment and water, I have transportation in my brief also. So the main focus today is some of the work that we're doing in the DZ and indeed across the county in relation to transport initiatives and in relation to decarbonisation. So look, climate action, as we've all been talking about today, just a roadmap, I suppose, is why we got to here today to the decarbonisation launch for Tullamore. As I said, I know we're tight in time, so I'll skip through some of the stuff that's already been dealt with today. I suppose the Climate Action Fund, some discussion on it already today, and just to say that of the 444,000 that has been received in round one or call one of the Climate Action Fund, 4 of those have been here in Tullamore, and Jack explained in relation to a sports club perspective the great work that's happening there in that regard. We look forward to phase 2, which we expect a call for in autumn of this year, and with many other projects queuing up to avail of that very worthwhile 100% funding. Today, Tullamore Decarbonisation Zone. Yes, we heard the word testbed used a lot today, and I suppose, and that's what it is. It is a testbed, and I'd say as individuals and as local authority, we're very much, I suppose, fearing things not working out, but I think we don't need to have that fear. Most of these projects, if we don't take the risk and reap the benefits, we won't get to where we want to go. So not everything will succeed, but of course we're hopeful it will all succeed and that we'll get a return on every investment that we make. I suppose today, the 14th of July, our launch date, many of the work has been happening in advance of this and will continue to happen. And I suppose that key collaborative and engagement piece I can't underestimate, because while the local authority will try and set the platform for a lot of these works in our communities, it's the cross body, whether it be business, whether it be educational, sports clubs, business and industry. It's working together where we have our best chance to succeed. Climate action and transportation, as I said, a big an element of my discussion today. I suppose, look, EV charging infrastructure in an effort to electrify our own fleet and again the wider community. Offaly County Council here in Tullamore have 6 public chargers currently available, with a plan to expand that to in around 15 by 2027. Now, that is informed very much so by our EV charging strategy, which Offaly County Council have a slide further on, but Offaly County Council are the lead for Region 2, which is 5 Midland counties in relation to neighbourhood and destination charging. And we have been the lead authority in that, and that informs our future requirement and need for EV charging infrastructure in the county. In relation to decarbonising our corporate fleet, this is somewhere whereby we heard Morgan Smith earlier on in the video clip in relation to Silverline Cruisers and their work in that regard. And I think, again, we can be exemplars in sharing that information, because, again, I spoke about risk and challenges and maybe fear of the unknown for people. But in relation to the transition of the fleet to HVO, we found that extremely successful. And that has been something whereby we converted our existing diesel tanks with little or no work there to enable us to transfer our fleet over our full diesel fleet over to HVO. And again, that is something, as I said, we will be engaging with the community in relation to that transition for others. So transportation companies or business sectors that have their own fleet in relation to a good way. If electrification is not the particular option, particularly for larger vehicles, I suppose the sector there in relation to the capability of electrification for those suitable type work vehicles, there's some concern. Well, HVO in the interim is certainly an alternative, and we can share our experience with regard to those who wish to transition in that regard. Tullamore Community Bike Share Scheme, again, another initiative to try and reduce the vehicle demand in the town. with regard to the mobile bike scheme that we have there. So at key locations throughout the town, at public parks, public buildings, and key destination attractors, we've installed over the last number of years those mobile bikes for people to utilise, again, to reduce that car demand. I suppose support to the existing public transport network, and again that's funded well in latter years by the NTA in relation to the bus stop enabling infrastructure. And again, there's some excellent work being done in relation to the TFI, local link and the like, and it's to try and make those services more prominent while they're well used, their scope for further use in that regard. Again, continuing on, our roadworks and our road improvements. Heretofore, carbon wouldn't have been a consideration with regard to the appropriate intervention and measure that we should be applying in the road network. It was basically, what's the terrain, what's the budget, what can we do, what life can we get out of it. Offaly County Council are part of a working group in relation to the carbon calculator in relation to regional and local roads. Both last year and this year, we're performing that role in relation to every intervention and work we take. We're capturing the carbon in relation to, I suppose, to inform the sector, the local government sector, with regard to what's actually achievable. And I suppose some initial progress in this area this year, all are what we would call our restoration improvements. So where you would see your road overlay works is what they call a war mix. So that's back to the manufacturing of the actual overlay material, that the war mix reduces the demand and requirement for heat, and if that's fossil fuel generated, in relation to being able to work at lower temperatures, both for manufacturing the material and laying it on the road. We're achieving currently between 10 and 30%, depending on the particular measure, lower emissions in relation to the material use. Road recycling is widely used throughout the county, and that's utilising the embedded carbon that's already there within the bitumen products that are on our roads, and recycling those materials back in preference to new materials. And there are certain roads in the county that are suitable for that, maybe the lesser travelled regional roads and the local roads, rather than going back for, again, new bitumen type materials. It's utilising what's already there and reinvigorating that bitumen product. Again, road cleanings, again, you'll see works ongoing where we take off the, we're not getting too technical, just take off the existing wearing course of a road and relay it. Those materials are going back now to the asphalt producers and are reused in the lower layers of new road construction and where roads are being strengthened and stabilised. Our maintenance methodologies in relation to the patching units that we deploy out on our road network. We now have 3 velocity patchers, and basically that's cut down the number of fleet vehicles that we have. The patching unit itself is working on HVO, but it's a far more targeted intervention. Both the materials we use, which are stone chippings, which again are generated in a quarry, and all the rest of it that has to go in relation to fossil fuel consumption in that regard. And the bitumen itself, so far more targeted, far safer with regard to our men and employees on the ground, and we're seeing carbon reduction and improvements there. So it's the Grand Canal Greenway. We're very lucky in Offaly in that we have a central spine and corridor that Ricky referred to with regard to even biodiversity routes and corridors. We have a 70 kilometre of the Grand Canal running through this county from east to west, from Edenderry to Shannon Harbour. And we have 70 kilometres now of a Grand Canal Greenway, which is not going to be just a recreational and an amenity product. It's going to help our economic development and our tourism offering. But it also, for neighbouring towns and villages, to give that connectivity. If people so wish, like it's commonplace, as we all know, in the Netherlands, get out on the cycle highway, as they call it, and people will reasonably commute 20 kilometres to the nearest town or city with regard to their daily commute by bike for their employment. And again, that's something that we will continue to expand upon here, particularly in relation to our urban greenways and our greenways from our towns and or our links from our town and villages to our greenways as they pass through the county. Just one notable element there, I suppose, is that 21% of the National Cycle Network target for 2025 has been delivered here in this county, in Offaly, by the 70 kilometres already delivered. So that's sizable in a national context basis. Again, complementary infrastructure there. We recently opened the Ballycommon Trailhead last week, and the link between the Grand Canal Greenway and Burr Discovery Park. Again, improving that tourism, that recreational tourism offering, and that complementary between the two individual amenities that we have there. Active travel, it's a big part. The NTA for a number of years now are committing, I suppose, in this county, 3 million and 3.5 million in recent terms with regard to a sustainable, green, safe opportunity for people to travel within our towns and villages. And again, we complement that with our urban regeneration funding that we do here in town. It's got redesignation of space, given more prominence to the safer modes of walking and cycling with regard to tightening carriageways, pedestrian crossings, and those key safe linkages or front of school works and likes of our safe routes to schools to make it a viable option for people to be able, and children in particular, to be able to travel to school in a safe manner with these particular treatments that we're doing. The currently under development our Tullamore draft local transport plan, and again there'll be a sustainable urban mobility plan as part of that, and that will inform our next key interventions in relation to future funding through the national through the NTA for our active travel interventions and measures. And again, our Tullamore cycle network plans with regard to linking those key residential business retail areas with the schools and with all the amenities that are out there. So we look forward to the continued development of that. Just we've touched upon them earlier today, just as was as part of my brief. It's Tullamore MD, so it's this municipal district, and we've talked about the district heating and the opportunities that are there in relation to the funding and the pre-feasibility stages, the geothermal, the Pathfinder projects I mentioned earlier by our chief Anna Marie Delaney. With regard to two of our significant energy users. So with regard to the Tullamore Ora Leisure Centre and Oras and Kunta. And we recently signed contracts there for the development of assessments and plans and proposals to deliver those schemes. I suppose just to touch upon Offaly's leadership role, and I would see it that, again, people before me, but the development of the sustainable wind energy strategies in this county has stood in good stead. Very much so in that, you know, if we look at the current figures with regard to green sustainable energy wind generation, 7% of that of the country's current complement of green energy is generated here in Offaly, and and what we have is just over 2% of the land mass of the country. So we have been leaders, and we will continue to be leaders with regard to the Tullamore decarbonisation zone over Tullamore. And I suppose just to draw to pull it all together with regard to that, we won't do that, and I said that at the outset, we won't do that on our own. We'll do that working together collaboratively, and everyone pulling in the one direction. And I think success will follow once we all pull together. And I think, you know, Offaly is definitely a demonstrator in that regard. I think we've achieved some good stuff to date, with further great work to be delivered, and the results to be achieved. And I suppose I wish to conclude by I want to thank the Climate Action section for organising today. I think you'll all agree, a very professional, well-presented event. And again, it brings great pride to me as the director to see that all the stakeholders we could bring here today in relation to sharing our experience and what we hope to do next. And I think it was an excellent event. And so thank you very much. I want to thank all our speakers. Thank you very much. Very insightful, informative day. And I suppose a good call to action for us all to continue this good work in relation to achieving what we all know needs to be achieved. And ultimately, these things will be achieved, but they have quality of life, economic benefits for us all. It's not necessarily a burden. I think we need to seek out and use the opportunity of our decarbonisation journey that we're all on. And yeah, just say thank you very much. I'll hand you back to Ashley now.